Okay, in this video I want to help you prepare for your civic engagement project that is due at the end of the semester. So to be clear, you need to be focusing on your midterm exam that's coming up in week 6 and making up any work that you've missed so far. You also should be focused on your essay that is due by the midterm if you haven't done that already. For those of you who feel like you're able to start thinking about the final civic engagement project now, this is going to give you a basic overview. I will provide a lot more opportunities as we move forward. The main thing that everyone should know in this class is that this is a requirement given by the college that you have a certain ability to show me that you understand what civic engagement is, and that because this is a certified civic engagement course, we have to assess this and make sure that you're able to apply that knowledge in a meaningful way. You may not have known that, and so this is why I'm giving you this information now, assuming that your advisor or the Justice Academy people or whoever else you talk to did not give you this information. And so from CUNY First, you'll see up in the left-hand corner here that successful completion of this course satisfies one of your civic engagement interaction requirements. It also describes what this course is about. You'll find information about civic engagement and specifically the civic engagement opportunities and the discussion board that you'll need to use after the midterm on Blackboard. Now, the instructions are both on Blackboard and I've provided to you access to them on the course website. If you're having trouble accessing either of those things, please do let me know. So far, only 4 students have filled out the instructions assignment form, even though it's been placed as an announcement. And so this gives you an idea of where students are. So please, if you're asking me a lot of questions about this assignment that's due at the end of the semester, remember that the rest of the students are still trying to catch up on the previous work, so please be patient. The main thing that you need to be thinking about in the big, huge picture is you're preparing and learning from your course activities how to write a final reflective paper. Let me be clear, you cannot start that assignment now because you haven't learned the materials that you need to know in order to reflect on that knowledge. So this is something you're going to do at the end of the semester. Let me be doubly clear. It doesn't matter how long this is. If you think you'll get an A according to the grading rubric by writing a 1-page poem, and you make sure that you show me all the things that you need to know, then you will get an A. If you are struggling with trying to show me that you understand these things, it could take you 3 pages. It could take you 5 pages. You might have to write it like a letter. There's a bunch of different ways you're going to have to do this that's unique to you because you are unique to you. And so you need to talk to me about what the best format is going to be for you. But this is not going to be like a research paper or the essay assignment. This is going to be unique to you. The second part of that reflection is that you're going to pick a symbol. And this symbol should be a clear logical match to your reflective project. So it should match the ideas that you're trying to convey throughout your semester. And so again, if you're having trouble with that, you need to reach out to me. It can't be an excuse that you didn't understand because I've given you instructions. Some of you think they're too long. Well, tough, you still need to read them. And now I'm giving you this video. There'll be more videos and you'll be able to talk with each other on the class congress on the discussion board on Blackboard. So you need to fully engage in the civic engagement assignment in order to get an A. There are 3 domains that you have to show me you understand. You have to show me that your identity is formed not just on what you think it is, but on what your role is in this society. and this is a constitutional republic. So it's not a good answer to say you don't know. You need to learn what it is in this semester. You also need to know something called critical agency. You need to understand that we have a bureaucracy in this country, that we have a political process in this country, that we have a legal system in this country. You have to show me that you're engaged with those processes and that you understand that there are opportunities for change, like the amendment process. So some of you have said, for example, that an amendment will never work. Well, 27 amendments disagree with you. There's scientific facts that show that people have had free speech and have won cases in court because of the First Amendment. People have had their evidence dismissed because of the Fourth Amendment. African Americans have the right to vote because of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. So it is just scientifically incorrect to say that amendments do nothing. And so it's a terrible attitude as well, but that I can't do anything about. But you are wrong. And so if you say that in this work, you're going to get an F because you are incorrect. And you are clearly not understanding the materials that we're engaging with in this assignment. However, there are limits, and this is what we mean by the limits of laws. An amendment surely doesn't change everything all the time for every person. And that's what you need to be able to see. What are the opportunities? What are the limits? There are going to be no sure answers for everything all the time, anytime in life. The final part is about aid advocacy. And this goes to show me whether you understand, whether you think you're ready to participate in American democracy. And if you're not ready, then you're called a free rider, meaning you're benefiting from the hard work of everyone else and you're not putting anything in. You will go, if you feel that way, you're going to have to explain in your reflection why that's fair and why other people should have to do the work for you. And then that will be difficult for you to explain the concept of social responsibility. Now, hopefully, if you read those instructions and the example reflection, you'll start to see that that would not be a very smart thing for you to do if you want to get a good grade in this class, nor if you wanted to be very successful in this particular society. You have to do two things, and some of you are already doing this. And you want to make sure you keep your notes organized, and I'll help keep the class notes organized. That's the deal we have to make. So you have to keep your stuff organized, and you have to stay focused and know what you're doing. Then you have to share that information on the Blackboard discussion board and or with me if you need my help. And then I'm going to bring all that together so that you can start to have a dialogue with each other, similar to what we'd be doing if we were in person. Now, the two things that you have to be organizing are a set of readings. So, for example, to the right, one set would be slavery and race, and then you see the readings that are listed there. Maybe you're more interested in sexuality and gender, so you'd pick those readings. Maybe you're more interested in economics and money and business and things like that, and so you'd be focused on those readings. Maybe you're more interested in labeling theory, deviance, criminal behavior, and so you'd be looking at the slavery, caste, class, and bodies. There are also, you could talk to me and we could come up with a set of readings based on your particular interests. But the point here is that you need to be able to understand the readings and apply them. To be extremely clear, students have been doing this for 4 years. So if you're having trouble, understand that I can give you examples of what other students have done. We can talk about it, but this is not an impossible task. The second thing is you have to engage with a civic engagement experience. That's the whole kind of point of the graduation requirement. So my colleague and the co-editor of the book that you're using, Helen Margaret Nasser, is the director of the Student Union and Intercultural Center. She also works with civic engagement, with me on the committee, and she also works with student life. So there are a bunch of opportunities for you to get engaged with your Kingsborough community. And I've been sending these out over Blackboard announcements. I have seen some of you at these activities. So everyone has to participate in at least one. Obviously, the more you do, the easier this assignment will be. but we all have busy lives. And so if you can only do one thing, that's okay too. That's better than no things. And this is the main point, is you just have to get engaged and apply the materials. I'm going to give you one example. I've had a bunch of students who have been interested in immigration law. A couple semesters ago, a student was working at a law firm doing refugee applications. She was interested in the immigration and the cultural parts of the readings that were in the text. She was interested in developing more ideas about how people could be better informed and use that knowledge in everyday life. She and I went to a few events with the Intercultural Center, and she heard at those events different ideas that she then put into a proposal for how to use public education to help people who are refugees. That is a perfect example of how she used social responsibility, her own identity, and critical agency to be an advocate for social change. So that's one way of doing this. You can do the same thing with critical race theory, with economics, with gender and sexuality, right? There's lots of ways to get involved. That's kind of the beautiful thing about the constitutional republic, is that if you don't get involved, that's kind of your fault, right? You are the one who's not doing it. Many people come to this country simply for that fact. Not everything is fair. There are lots of problems, but one of the problems is not related to you not being able to participate. So this is the simplest part of the assignment, I think. And many of you have shown me that you have this understood at this point. Now, as you can see, right, you don't have to have completed week 8's readings already if you're interested in issues like poverty, homelessness, land, housing, those kind of economic issues. You just have to know that those are the set of readings that you're going to use, and you have to try to focus on those activities that kind of come available. I'll give you a big hint. During the midterm, there's going to be a couple of those concepts floating around in the midterm exam. And so you're going to be able to show me at that point how you're dealing with this understanding of civic engagement. Now, the big kind of point of this is that you're using the course learning for real-world application. So it's not just memorizing a bunch of definitions that don't usually apply to anything and then getting those answers right or wrong on a multiple choice exam. That's not this kind of class. That's not how anyone should teach a law class. This law is all around you. This is a constitutional republic. You are a part of this system. It is very important to me that you become an active and engaged member of society. Otherwise, I can't count on you as a fellow citizen resident. And so this is the kind of understanding here, is that you're using these opportunities to get better at applying this system knowledge in your real life, which also affects all of us because we live in a society. Now, these are the categories that Director Nasser offers through the SUIC, the Student Union and Intercultural Center. The website is here. You see the red line going there. And there's emails that will come to your email, and I will send announcements letting you know what the most recent activities are. There are political engagement activities. There's a program called UndocuAlly that deals with how to be an advocate for undocumented students. There's a new series of events that includes lots of things like first-generation students to single mothers to all sorts of activities called You Belong Here. There's something called Interfaith Dialogue if you're interested in how people of different faiths can have productive conversations with one another. There are dozens of student life opportunities, including running for student government or supporting those efforts. There's also community partners if you want to get what could be considered like internship or service learning type opportunities. You need to talk to me and we can figure out what would be the best fit for you. Or you can propose your own activity if you have something that you want to do. This has happened several times in class. One student did a clothing drive, and she brought clothing to and little care packages to homeless populations, and she got quite a few other students to participate in it as well. And so there's lots of different ways to do this kind of work, and that's why you need to kind of stay engaged with the entire process the whole time. Now, in each of the domains, right, there's a different level. So if you're only able to kind of see your own identity through this work, that's about a C. You're an average student. You've done an average job of thinking about social responsibility. If you start to see how you could make a difference, but then what the limitations are, now you're talking about a B level. You're starting to see the bigger picture. If you're able to use the examples from all of the work that you're doing and you're well organized and you come up with a great idea, you're ready to be an advocate. You're clearly able to use the knowledge in the real world, and that's an A-level knowledge. Now, for many of you, you need to slow down. Okay, you might be trying to, I'm not sure what you're trying to do, so I won't even comment. But this kind of assignment, you can't do all at once. You have to break it down into pieces. And so I've done that for you in the weekly assignments. So each week you're asked about a 28th Amendment. There are 27 amendments to the Constitution. That means it has been changed by groups of people 27 different times because they've organized and they've made it very clear through the political process that a change needed to occur, and they succeeded. They did not fail. Many times those amendments then led to congressional or state level legislation called laws. And so there are dozens, if not hundreds, of examples of that kind of change. Has this changed the world? Well, yes and no. It changed the world for them at that time. But you and I weren't alive in the First Amendment time. And so, of course, people reproduced. They had babies, and generations later, guess what? New problems emerge. Different people are now engaging. So the same people who passed the 14th Amendment aren't alive today. And so you have to make it new, and you have to apply it to your situation. And so I'm trying to help you understand that change does occur on two levels. On levels where people are more discriminatory, and on levels where people are more liberatory. Okay? And this happens because of people are born and they die. And so it's a new set of people that you're dealing with every generation. And so they have to make things new. Now, out of all of the answers in the students who completed the critical race assignment, there were 3 that I thought were very good ideas about what a proposal for a 28th Amendment would be. And they're here on the right-hand side. So this is kind of that first step of this is a way of dialoguing with your classmates. These are 3 good answers out of the 20-something proposed. Many of them were not very good answers. And so you can start to think about why these are better answers than the one you gave. On the class congress, it would be fine to say, what do you mean about a certain part of their proposal? But it is not an appropriate thing to go in and say nothing will ever change or everybody's greedy or all of these things. That's not a scientific fact. It's a very uninformed opinion, and it obviously shows me that you're not really learning anything from this class so far. You can say, what are the limitations? What are the experiences that people are having? Because obviously a sentence is not going to solve everybody's problems. But it's the process of dialogue that you have to show me that you're able to do over parts, and this will especially get more important after the midterm, because at that point, I'm measuring to see if everybody's basically on the same page. Have you done enough of the reading and of the assignments to have something intelligent to say? And that you're not just giving me like talking head television commentator opinions. Now, the main thing here is if you look at to the right, many of you are used to being in freshman level classes where you remember things and then you repeat them, and that's what your grade is. When you start to become a sophomore and really as an upper freshman, you should start to be able to engage in dialogue, to explain, to discuss, to paragraph, to understand the concepts and show people that you understand that concept. As you get into being an upper sophomore, you have to start applying that information in new situations. That's largely what the midterm exam is going to be about. Can you show me that you understand and remember the information to be able to apply it in a new situation? So most of you have taken the subway or you've driven a car. The very first time you tried to do those things, you were just trying to remember the basic rules. When you successfully did it, meaning you got onto the subway and got somewhere, or you didn't crash in your car, you understood you could do it and you showed other people you could do it. But now let's say they want you to drive a new car, or they want you to go to a new location you've never been to in a different city with a different subway system. Now you have to apply the knowledge that you had from your previous experience. That's where I'm trying to get you by the midterm. After the midterm, because this is an upper level legal class, you have to be able to create, evaluate, and analyze the information. So I need you to be patient. Many of you are in a big, huge hurry, and you cannot rush these steps. It's based on how well you can process the information and how you think critically. And thinking critically is not a quick thing. In fact, it's the opposite of that. It requires you to slow down, to reflect, to try to think about the things that you're learning in class in the broadest possible way. Look at experiences, talk to your family members, think about social media posts, try to think critically about how things are similar and different than what you're learning. This means that you have to keep your notes organized. This is not a class where you read something, you put the answer up, and then you move on to the next thing. You need to start putting your notes into an organized, logical formula. If this is just totally impossible and hard for you, you need to check in with me. But one of those kind of extra credit assignments was when I asked you in week 1 to send me a copy of your notes. This is kind of a good habit, right? Keep your notes organized so that you're able to check back on what did you learn from week 1. Because that's largely what I'm going to be doing, is seeing how are you improving, how are you getting smarter, how are you applying new ideas from what you were doing in week 1. So you need to start making charts. I've given you the study rights table, and you need to start making note cards, all sorts of different study tools that you could easily look up on Google of ways of deepening your understanding. But again, this is not a read and copy and paste kind of class. Keep open an open mind. You need to be able to learn new ways of thinking. Legal processes are not the same thing as political statements. And so you need to start thinking differently. This is a much broader systems level class. There's lots of things going on. It isn't just about you. Your answers, if you say that something can never change, think about how that affects an 8-year-old. Think about how that affects your grandmother. Think about how that affects people who are being discriminated against right now. What is it you're saying about social life then, right? And make sure that you're able to articulate it. You can be skeptical, but not cynical. You got to get past remembering. This is really hard for a lot of students. So my suggestion is just start applying. Take what you're learning and apply it to as many different situations as you can, and I think you'll be able to move quicker through this system. By quicker, I mean a lot of students just get stuck at remembering, right? They just keep trying to remember the same things over and over and over again. Part of getting better at something is you have to push yourself to do more than what you're doing now. Now, by the by the midterm exam, these are the things that you should have done by then. Okay, so by October 13th, October 14th, around that time, because many of you are procrastinators and do this stuff at the last minute, so by that time, if not already, you should have at least picked a set of readings. If you have not done that, you're in a lot of trouble, and you need to email me immediately so we can have a Zoom talk and get that squared away. Many of you have already attended a civic engagement opportunity. If you have not done that yet, you really need to get on that. You need to go to one of these things that I'm announcing. You need to go to the SUIC website, or you need to propose your own activity. There's lots of stuff going on in the world. And so it's easy enough to find something that is similar to what's going on at SUIC. You should have organized your notes. You should have said, okay, for Jason's class, I'm going to do a special organizing day, and I'm going to spend some time moving things around, making some new tables and diagrams, and just to make sure that I'm doing what he asked me to do. You should have completed the first civic engagement Google form. By the time I made this, only 4 students have done that out of 60. Okay, so that tells me that some of you need time, right? So you still have time till the 13th. You should review the grading rubrics, that you understand what it is that you need to do in order to get an A, and what will happen if you don't do those things, what your grade will be. Now, if you don't show me that you understand your identity within this class, then you're not going to get a C, right? That's like the basic bottom layer. If you can show me that you just now understand how your identity is constituted and you can show me that, that's a C. If you show me now you understand critical agency and the opportunities and limits, that's a B. If you show me how anyone could be an advocate and what you're kind of thinking about why you are or are not an advocate, that's an A. So you will know this by looking at the grading rubric carefully. You need to understand that if you tell me nothing will ever change, you are wrong. Things change all the time. It's a fundamental rule of physics that things change. So just making this statement is going to give you an F, because it shows me that you are just not checked into this class at all. On the other hand, if you tell me that all we need to do is just get along, or people just need to be better, you will also earn an F, because that's also not a fact. You're just giving me these like cliche, just meaningless statements that show me that you're not engaged in this class at all. You're just kind of hanging out there. Read the instructions carefully. Even if they're wordy, even if there's too many things that you're not used to reading, even though maybe it's harder for you to understand, reread it and reread it and reread it. Because I'm giving you an example from my own life, so think about being polite, about how you process this information. Now, I've been doing this work for over 25 years, so I'm not expecting you to have the same depth in your reflection. I'm expecting you to be able to go through the same process of reflection. You take bits and pieces of the readings, apply them to the experiences, and relate them to the bigger picture. That's if you want an A in this class, that's what you have to be able to do. It's also good to practice this story on the class Congress discussion board on Blackboard, because this will help you get better at telling the story, so that by the time that you're turning this project in, it will become clear, because students can let you know what is clear and what's not clear, and now you're engaged in the dialogue portion. Think about how all of the things that you've learned, especially as you're taking the midterm exam, how does that apply to a constituted identity, critical agency, and the ability to be an advocate? If you do those things, then you're in good shape for the second half of this semester.